Okay, guys, so we are going to start our 15-in-1 project. I do want to show you how to move your photos from your Google Drive to your desktop and then to be able to open with Photoshop. If your photos are in Google Drive, you can't access them until they're on your hard drive of your computer. So you're going to find your folder. So hopefully you made a folder. If you made individual files, that's fine, but you'll have to select them all. But you're going to select either that folder or the individual files. And I don't know why it won't let me. Okay, so we're going to go back one step here. Sorry about that. All right, so you're going to select that folder, and then you can either hit the three dots, or you can go to, you can right click or control click, and you're going to go to download, okay? And then once you download, it's going to go most likely to your downloads folder, which you can find in your Finder, your little blue Mac-faced guy, and you can go to downloads, and then it will be here when it's ready, okay? So that's how to get them from your drive. They need to be on your physical hard drive to make them functional in Photoshop. All right, so I'm back in my Photoshop window. I didn't close it from my first demo, so I have all the same gradients and weird colors and controls like that. A lot of times Photoshop will save wherever you were in the last step, okay? So the first thing we need to do is start with a blank file. So we are going to go to File, New Blank File, and this is everybody, okay? And then you need to decide, do you want it horizontal or do you want it vertical? I'm going to switch things and make it horizontal. Just seems to make more sense, I feel like, for this project. I don't know why. It's really up to you. Okay, so I changed the width to 11 and the height to 8.5. There's my download of my photos. Okay, so the width to 11, the height of 8.5, and I'm going to name it 15-of-1. And then I'm going to add my name to the file. Okay, it's a good way to kind of always have your name in the file. That way, if it gets lost or when it gets uploaded, that way, when I look at it, I know exactly whose project I'm looking at. So 15-of-1, and then I did an underscore, which it's up to you, and then Mrs. Vance. Okay, so now I've got my blank canvas, all right? So the first thing we need to do is start getting some photos on here. So we talked about it in our intro demo that you can't just like drag photos onto the page. It doesn't really work like that. So you can either go to File, Open, okay? Or you can go to your folder, wherever your images are. Okay, so here are all my images and I'm looking at them. And I like this view, that's the tiled view, so that you can kind of see a little bit more of what you're dragging in and not having to like squint or guess. Okay, so which one do I want to start with? I'm gonna, probably pick a shoe that's a little bit more general. Maybe one of the photos that I really like, but maybe not, it's not one of the like detailed ones. So I'm gonna pick my one in the grass because I like the lighting in this one. And watch, I'm gonna drag it in. And it doesn't work. Oh my God, Mrs. Vance, it doesn't work. It's in a new file. That's okay. Okay, so remember, it's going to always add itself as a new file. This is to help you protect the original file and to not edit it on accident. Okay, so in this file itself, I'm going to go over here to my layers box. I'm going to either right click or control click, and I'm going to say duplicate layer. From there, I'm going to change my destination to my project, and I'm going to say okay. And now my picture is on there. Now the quality of my iPhone is really good. So my picture ended up larger than the canvas, and that's fine. But now I need to use my move tool to kind of slide it around until I can see those little control bars or boxes. And I'm going to make it smaller. But I'm not going to make it super small. I actually want it to take up a decent amount of the page and use this kind of like a background for my project. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and size it pretty close to the edge. So go ahead and find an image that you kind of want to use for the background. Like, let's say you're not happy with that image. No big deal at all. You can just trash that layer and you could go and drag in a new photo, or you could re-put in this photo if you need to. Okay, so I could go and I could drag in a new photo at a time. Okay, I only liked, you could say, Mrs. Vance, can I just upload all 15 at one time? Yeah, but then it gets a little bit lost in the top toolbar over here. So I'm just going to do it one at a time for you guys. Okay, so my first picture, I'm not going to do anything. I just want to see it resized to the middle of the paper. I like the lighting and the color, so I don't want to change anything. But let's say you did want to change your lighting or color a little bit. You could go up here to enhance, and you've got adjust color and adjust lighting. So you could play with those a little bit. There's no right or wrong way to do this. It's completely up to you and how you want your image to look and what you think looks best for your project. Okay, so you can edit the color and whatnot for that first background image. All right, so we are ready to put in a new image. I'm going to grab a detail shot. I'm going to drag that over. It's going to upload into a new file. Same thing, I need to right click, duplicate layer, change the destination to my project and say okay. It's going to be big again. You'll get used to this. You'll kind of get good at this whole repetitive part of the project. Okay, so for this second image, this more detailed shot, I'm going to figure out where I want to put it. And I'm going to kind of slide it into this corner over here. It's up to you. You can put it anywhere. And then I'm going to play and rotate with it because maybe I want it to be in a different spot. Okay, so I want you to do this for about 4 different pictures. So you're just going to start kind of collaging on to your project. So I'm bringing in one photo, and I'm going to do it one at a time. Oops, sorry, layers back, duplicate layer. Send to my project, say okay. There, it's there. Now I'm going to move it and resize it. And this may seem monotonous. However, the more you do it, the more comfortable you get with Photoshop and the better you will be later on when we get to do more creative like things. All right, I want to make sure I'm filling my page. I don't love the lighting in this one. It got a little blue because I took it inside. So I'm going to go to Enhance, Adjust Color, and I'm going to adjust the hue saturation, and I'm going to go to my blue values and turn it down. I'm going to make it a little bit warmer. You know, I don't really like what that did, so I'm going to go back. It's all about playing. It's all about kind of, let's see if I can, I don't want to do remove color cast. It's a little too complicated. So I'm just going to go into lighting and change the brightness and dark and contrast. I'm just going to brighten it up a little bit. Now, if I go back in to adjust color, I'm going to go back to the blues. I can sort of desaturate them, and now it kind of took that blue hue out of there. So that looks a little better. Okay, so I'm going to add one more picture. So I'm going to have 4 total pictures in a minute. Let's see. We'll do with this one. Okay, so again, right click, duplicate layer, send to my good project. And now I'm here. I'm going to resize. And then I'm going to start figuring out where I want to place it. Now you might be thinking, Mrs. Vance, I want to get rid of some stuff. We're going to talk about that in a second. We're just talking about placement and starting to get ourselves organized a bit more. Okay, so now that you have 4 photos onto your project, onto your kind of collage, you're going to kind of start to see your layers build up over here and decide what do you want to do with them. Okay, so using some other tools and some other options now, we are going to kind of play with them. So I want you to think about, okay, well, do I want to select just the shoe and delete the background? I really do for this one right here. This kind of concrete area drives me nuts. So I at least want to get rid of this right side of the shoe. So I'm going to zoom in. Command plus on your keyboard will zoom in. I'm going to grab my polygonal lasso. I could also try to use my magnetic, so maybe I will this time. And I am going to make sure I'm on the right layer first. I'm clicking, and every time I click, it's going to kind of make a new point as I go, as I slide my mouse. And if you notice, I got really close to the tutorial screen. When I work in Photoshop, I often get my face really close to the screen, which isn't probably super healthy, but I've got my blue light glasses on today. So, all right, so I'm dragging up. You got to kind of be careful when you use the magnetic one. It can go kind of bonkers on you real fast. So again, the more you click, the more points of data you are giving it. Kind of tricky up here above the fur. Okay. So, what's annoying is it didn't work. So what just happened is it just selected just this like outside part of my shoe. Oops, sorry guys. There's a little lag time in my mouse. So it didn't work. So I think I need to go to my polygonal because I've got some better control over it. But I did want to show you the magnetic. So again, I'm getting my face super close to the screen. I apologize. So the magnetic is super nice because it really does like figure out where your edges are and grabs them. So it gives you a little bit more of a precise line. But what just happened when I clicked is it kind of like magically closed itself, and that's not what I wanted to happen. I wanted to be able to go off to the right side and kind of close off with where the concrete is, and it just didn't let me do it. I could probably go back and try again and go a little slower, and it might work. But this way I can show you guys a couple tools. So I'm going to be really careful going around the fur, making lots of little data points there. Okay, so now I can go all the way around this outside section, and it wouldn't let me do that with the magnetic. Okay, so I'm all the way up and around. I'm going to scroll up once my mouse catches up to me. Okay, so I'm selected just on this right side of the concrete. So now I can go ahead and say delete, and la la. All right, so pretty cool. So I do want you to try that for at least one section of one of your shoes. And so now in that, I could say, all right, so do I want to change this at all? Do I want to zoom in more? Do I want to rotate? What do I want to do to make this interesting in my sort of photo collage? Okay, I'm going to go back to my background because it's really bothering me that I have these white edges. I'm going to stretch it all the way to fill those white edges. So all I had to do was go back to my layer and make sure I'm selected on just that image until I get it where I want. And then I'm going to hit return. All right, so now I feel a little less paranoid about those weird white lines. We want to avoid those. We want to make it look like a seamless collage. Okay, so from here, you might notice that, oh no, because I turned it after the fact, I've got some concrete showing in that picture. So I could use my magic wand this time, make sure I'm on that layer. And I'm going to raise my tolerance up a little bit. And now I'm clicking just on that space, and now I can hit delete, and magically it's good to go. So sometimes your magic wand can be your best friend. Like this is a really plain area over here. So I'm going to click on this layer. I'm using my magic wand, and I've got to be careful. Okay, I grabbed some of the shoe. So I'm going to lower my tolerance. So I'm down here. I'm lowering my tolerance. I'm going to re-click, and I'm checking to make sure it didn't grab any part of the shoe, and I'm going to hit delete. And your magic wand gets you a really smooth line sometimes, so it's going to be your friend too. Oh, but you know what? Look, I got a little choppy here though. So I'm going to undo, Command Z twice, and I'm actually going to lower my tolerance a little further. And I'm going to do it again. So, but now I'm not getting all the colors, so I might have to hold down Shift. And there we go. That's a little better. And I've got this little tiny piece here, but I'm going to use my eraser. Make it smaller. Oh, my opacity of my eraser is still turned down from when I did the demo yesterday. So you do need to check your tool options down here. Your bracket keys, and I apologize that you can't see my keyboard, but your bracket keys are actually brush up and down sizes. So next to the letter P on your keyboard, there are brackets, and that raises and lowers the size of your paintbrush or your eraser, or anything that's a brush style tool on Photoshop. Okay, so I could do this again with the orange over here if I didn't like it. I could take my magic wand and, oops, I gotta make sure that my tolerance is correct and that I'm on the right layer. Okay, so I'm gonna up my tolerance a little bit. That looks pretty good. I'm gonna grab that. I'm going to grab inside here. So if you hold down Shift while you're using a tool, it's going to add to your selection. So instead of just clicking and deleting and clicking and deleting, I'm adding as I go to make sure it's the whole section that I want. And then I hit delete and then hit deselect so that I can see what it looks like. All right, so it's starting to look like this collage is kind of legit. Okay, it's looking kind of cool. It's looking interesting. I'm seeing all different parts of my shoe. So now I might be ready to come in and add some more images, throw something else in there that I might like. So I'm going to grab, I think, this one. And then I am going to maybe zoom in a little bit and crop it. So the first thing I'm going to do is duplicate that layer, send it to my project. Excuse me. So now that it's in my project, again, it's huge, so I got to take care of it. And it might insert itself like in between layers, and you can click and drag and reorder them, and I'll show you that in a second. So I am going to shrink this down a little bit. But then I'm going to go in and I want to zoom in on stuff. So I essentially want to crop this image. Well, I'm going to select the section that I want to show more. Okay. But if I delete this, I'm going to end up deleting the middle of the shoe. I don't want that. So I'm going to go up to select inverse. So now it's going to select everything that I didn't put in that rectangle. And if I hit delete, now it's gotten rid of all of that again. So again, I selected the object and then I went select inverse to get everything that's on the outside. And then I was able to delete. Okay. So now with this layer, I can zoom back in if I want to and kind of get some lace detail brought in. All right. So for this one, I'm going to kind of walk you through the transparency tool a little bit. So I am going to get rid of this background area. So I'm going to go in to my magic wand and I'm going to have to lower my tolerance down. Try again. That looks better. So I'm going along, and this is what I was talking about. Like you could do it like one click at a time, but it does get a little, oops, sorry, I right-clicked on accident. All right. So now that I've gotten rid of the background for the most part, I want to do something a little different with this one. So with this layer, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to adjust the opacity. So the opacity, it only controls it on the layer that you're actually selected on. So I can physically just make it more transparent. So I'm going to get it to a point where I kind of like it. I don't know. I'm kind of picky about it. I think maybe right there. Okay. So that just shows you, that you can reduce the transparency, make something a little bit more see-through into these layers. And like I said before, you can reorder layers depending on what you want to sit on top and what you want to sit behind. So you might change your mind on what you want to be the most dominant part of the project. But if I drag in this one up all the way up to the top, then it's going to cover up all my other work, right? So I've got to make sure that the background is still the background back here. And then making sure that the other layers are, layered how I want to. Some of them won't make a difference depending on what's on top and what's underneath, but like these two for sure do, because it either covers up the toe of the shoe or not. So it's really up to you and what you are going for. Okay, that's enough for today. I want you to creatively add at least 5 images into your project today and play with your selection tools. So that we didn't really play with any of our color tools or anything like that. We talked a little bit about the eraser, but we're not painting anything, nothing like that. We are just using their selection tools to get rid of background area and to position them on the screen and to rotate them, things like that. And then we also can play with our options in our layers by reordering or using some opacity. Okay, that's it for today. This is as far as I want you to get. So when you are done, you're going to go to File, Save As, make sure the title has your name in it. It's a 15-in-1, and then save it in your documents or on your desktop, wherever you have been keeping your art projects for this year. And then click Save. Make sure it says Photoshop file. Click Save. And then when you are ready to go on tomorrow, you're going to open it right back up and be ready to start off. I would not leave Photoshop open on your computer because it does take up a lot of memory space and it likes to run in the background a lot. So when you are done for the day, make sure you do close out Photoshop and then start fresh tomorrow. Have a good one, guys.